Welcome back, dear viewers. Now you are watching a special edition of Africa Today, as we are today covering the U.S. elections. And in this edition, we will focus on African-American relations and future cooperation between the United States and the African countries. But first, we'll have a look on this report, as America's founding fathers decided that one elected civilian, the U.S. president, would lead the executive branch of the federal government, a governmental structure that has remained in place for more than 200 years. Since the office was established in 1789, 44 men have served as presidents. To know more about some of U.S. former presidents, let's watch this report.
The President of the United States is indirectly elected to a 4-year term by the people through the Electoral College. The office holder leads the executive branch of the federal government and is the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Armed Forces. Since the office was established in 1789, 44 men have served as president. George Washington was a political leader, military general, statesman, and founding father who served as the first president of the United States from 1789 to 1797. Previously, he led Patriot forces to victory in the nation's war for independence. He presided at the Constitutional Convention of 1787, which established the U.S. Constitution and a federal government. Washington has been called the father of his country for his manifold leadership in the formative days of the new nation. Abraham Lincoln was a statesman and lawyer who served as the 16th President of the United States from 1861 to 1865. Lincoln led the nation through the American Civil War, the country's greatest moral, constitutional, and political crisis. He succeeded in preserving the Union, abolishing slavery, bolstering the federal government, and modernizing the U.S. economy. Theodore Roosevelt, often referred to as Teddy Roosevelt or his initials TR, was a statesman, conservationist, naturalist, historian, and writer who served as the 26th President of the United States from 1901 to 1909. He previously served as the 33rd Governor of New York from 1899 to 1900 and the 25th Vice President of the United States from March to September 1901. Roosevelt emerged as a leader of the Republican Party and became a driving force for the antitrust policy while supporting progressive-era policies in the early 20th century. He was the first American to win the Nobel Peace Prize. Dwight D. Eisenhower was a politician and soldier who served as the 34th President of the United States from 1953 to 1961. During World War II, he became a 5-star general in the Army who served as Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force in Europe. He started highway system, ended the Korean War with a ceasefire. John F. Kennedy, often referred to by his initials JFK and Jack, was an American politician who served as the 35th President of the United States from January 1961 until his assassination in November 1963. Kennedy served at the height of the Cold War, and the majority of his work as president concerned relations with the Soviet Union and Cuba. A Democrat, Kennedy represented Massachusetts in the U.S. House of Representatives and Senate prior to becoming president. Jimmy Carter is a politician, philanthropist, and former farmer who served as the 39th President of the United States from 1977 to 1981. A member of the Democratic Party, he previously served as a Georgia state senator from 1963 to 1967, and as the 76th Governor of Georgia from 1971 to 1975. Since leaving the presidency, Carter has remained engaged in political and social projects as a private citizen. In 2002, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his work in co-founding the Carter Center. George H.W. Bush was a politician, diplomat, and businessman who served as the 41st President of the United States from 1989 to 1993. A member of the Republican Party, Bush also served as the 43rd Vice President from 1981 to 1989 in the U.S. House of Representatives, as U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, and as Director of the Central Intelligence. George W. Bush is a politician and businessman who served as the 43rd President of the United States from 2001 to 2009. A member of the Republican Party, he had previously served as the 46th Governor of Texas from 1995 to 2000. His presidency marked by 9/11, War on Terror, the subsequent invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. Barack Obama is a politician and attorney who served as the 44th President of the United States from 2009 to 2017. A member of the Democratic Party, Obama was the first African-American President of the United States.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and you are still watching the special edition of Africa Today, which focuses on U.S. elections. And now we are joined by Dr. Mustafa Rida. He is a political analyst. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
So, sir, as we are all today witnessing the U.S. elections, can you tell us your expectations?
Well, actually, what is very important in these elections would be addressing the needs of the American citizenship, the internal needs, because economic, social, you see, medical,
yes.
all benefits that are going to reflect on the American citizen. Actually, what is very important that the foreign policy doesn't matter a lot with the American citizen. What they care about, what they're going to get from the candidate who is going to be elected. So probably what I think that if there is a concrete program specific with objectives and all that, and that's going to be implemented, probably I expect that the President Trump is going to win, because he has started a lot of efforts, you see, in order to revamp the United States in all aspects.
So, sir, if we focus on the American-African relations, how do you describe it under the leadership of President Donald Trump?
Well, actually, we cannot take it as a whole. You see, you cannot say the African continent. Let us take, for example, Egypt. The relations between Egypt and the U.S. are very good in this respect. And certainly this would be a cornerstone, as Egypt is probably the door for the African continent. So certainly this will have a positive impact on the American and the other African countries which are in relation with the United States.
So, sir, also Prosper Africa policy launched by the Trump administration last year aimed to substantially increase U.S. investments in Africa. How do you see the importance of U.S. investments in Africa for both sides, and how would a Biden win impact this approach?
Certainly this is a very important point you have raised, because Africa is considered one of the continents with very rich resources, you see, either physical or human resources. So certainly by investing American money in these countries, it is a two-sided coin. First, it's going to help the economy of the African countries. Number two, certainly, is going to keep good relations with these countries, which will have an effect on the political side, you see, again, if you have good relations. So certainly this will help on the political arena. It will have a positive impact.
So, sir, also, what fields are most attractive to U.S. investors in Africa?
I think will be the minerals. You see, petroleum,
Yes.
minerals, gold. You see, these are probably the major areas that probably the United States will be looking for. And certainly because, as I told you, Africa is very rich in its resources. So certainly, by exploiting
Yes.
these resources, certainly it will have a positive impact on both countries.
So, sir, if we talk about the U.S. elections and to what extent it can influence political track here in Egypt?
Yes, I'll tell you something very, very important that we have to take into consideration, that the American strategy doesn't change by the change of a president. It's
Yes.
a fixed strategy, but the tactics are different, you see. The methodology is different, but the major objective, the major strategy is the same. So you're not going to expect a turnaround if there's a change in the presidency. But certainly you expect a change in tactics, in the methodologies. That's all.
So, sir, how did you read the U.S. President Trump address in the morning to his supporters?
Well, certainly it was a positive, you see, address, and probably was very specific and probably giving a lot of hopes to the Americans that things will be getting better.
So, sir, also if we talk about the impact of these elections on global economy, can you elaborate on this?
Certainly, these elections will be depending on who is going to come.
Yes.
You see, if he's going to concentrate on the economy, national-wise, on the United States or internationally, see, this is very important. And it depends upon the strategy that if they'll be able to conduct political relations with a lot of countries, you see, which probably will be very important, especially the European community. I recall that the relations between U.S. and the European community are not very good, you see, in relation that the U.S. pulled out from the UN and from the environmental agreement and a lot of other agreements which were Europe was involved, you see. So again, certainly changing the strategy was very important. The tactics again.
So, sir, how do you describe U.S. President Trump's foreign policy in the Middle East?
Well, I think the President Trump wants to leave, you see, something that, you see, he wants to leave a sign that he did something within the political arena. And this was evidenced by having a lot of Arab countries resuming the relations with Israel. This was a turnaround. No one expected that, you see. So certainly he'll probably be getting a strategy to reach peace, you see, but in a different way that we used to have.
So also, sir, if we talk about President Trump and if he wins the elections, do you expect a change in his policy after winning the elections, his foreign policy, especially in Africa and in Egypt in particular?
As I said, certainly, no, the policy will not change. You see, the strategy is the same.
Yes.
What will change the tactics, you see, the methodology. But certainly the strategy will be the same. It will be the security of Israel, support of Israel. This will not change, you see. So we have to be realistic. But there will be certainly other methodologies in order to provide aid to certain countries, to put pressures on certain countries to resume relations with Israel. So things of that sort, you see, in order to achieve stability in the Middle East.
And in your opinion, do you believe that the President U.S. Trump in the past 4 years has succeeded in achieving the dreams of Americans and in implementing his agenda?
In certain areas, yes. Certainly in the economy,
Yes.
you see, before the corona, certainly the economy was boosting, and he did very good things that he pulled out all the American military from a lot of areas, which certainly is a right strategy, you see. Also, he concentrated on boosting the economy, and he concentrated on stability, and certainly a very important point, which was the refugees, which used to come from a lot of countries and caused a burden, you see, on the U.S. economy. He put some limitations for that, which is something good in relation to the country itself.
And if we talk about presidential candidate Joe Biden and his agenda for the Americans in case he wins, how do you see it?
Well, sir, actually, I think it's a bit vague. You see, it was not considered very specific. You see, he didn't put certain points. He didn't put certain specific objectives, you see, which will be measurable. So certainly, probably this might be a drawback again.
Yes, so I'd like to thank you, Dr. Mustafa Rida, political analyst. Thank you for being with us, sir. And by that, we come to the end of today's edition of Africa Today. Actually, it was a special edition dedicated to elections in the United States. Dear viewers, thank you and stay tuned for our special coverage.